All right. Good morning, Dolphin parents. It is 9 o'clock, so we will get started. I would like to introduce Miss Carrie Howron. She is our curriculum support teacher, called our CST is how we refer to her. And she is going to lead us in a parent coffee today about iReady, tag strategies, and continuous achievement. Looking forward to that. As always, our parent coffees are recorded and posted onto our website if you want to go back and refer to it later or share it with a friend. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to type those into the chat and we will address those at the end. All right, Ms. Howron, take it away.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm here today to talk about continuous achievement, talented and gifted programming, and iReady. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in. Our agenda, we're going to first of all look at continuous achievement versus TAG, and kind of a lot of times they get confused with one another, so to kind of separate the two. Then we'll dig into continuous achievement a little bit more, dig into TAG a little bit more, and then I'll give parents a quick overview of iReady so they kind of know how that works for their child. So continuous achievement versus TAG. These two programs, oftentimes parents and people think that they work simultaneously. They don't. They're two completely separate programs. For instance, continuous achievement is something that is unique to Fulton County schools. If you go to other districts around the metro, you're not going to find this program anywhere. It is something that's very unique to Fulton County. As a result, it's governed by our board policy, and oversight is through the Fulton County Schools Learning and Teaching Department. Whereas talented and gifted programming is governed and funded by the state of Georgia through the Georgia Department of Education. It's also oversight is within Fulton County is the Advanced Studies Department, but it is also overseen by the state of Georgia. So continuous achievement is Fulton County only, and talented and gifted programming happens throughout the state of Georgia. So let's get into continuous achievement a little bit and what that is and what it looks like for your child. So the continuous achievement framework for advancement was designed to allow each child to progress in language arts and mathematics at his or her appropriate instructional pace and depth. So that is what we want to do to help individualize for our children. Within the continuous achievement framework, each student will be placed in an on-level group, an advanced group, or an accelerated group curriculum. To give you an overview, if they are in the on-level group, that they will be learning their grade level standards. If they are in the advanced group, they'll be learning all the grade level standards, plus some standards from the next grade level embedded into the units as they fit. And if they are in the accelerated group, they are working one full school year ahead of their grade level and responsible for mastering those standards. So that's the difference between the three levels. There is not a level that is below grade level. We don't work with anybody below grade level. So the on-level group is right where a child should be. Our continuous achievement screening process, all Dolphin students are screened twice annually. Student data is compiled on a dashboard. The dashboard then compiling that data and analyzing that data generates possible next steps based on the data. Then what happens from there is the continuous achievement teams meet to further analyze the data and add additional data in that we might see in classrooms or formative data, things like that. And then we analyze the data, look at the dashboard directives, and then we come up with our final recommendation based on the guidelines and the final data review. Data that we look at, it could be some of these, but it is not limited to iReady diagnostic results. They actually take the last 2 diagnostics taken. Gifted testing mental ability scores in both math and verbal, and gifted testing achievement scores in both math and reading. And those scores are only factored in if they've taken these assessments in the last 2 years, because after 2 years, that data is not considered valid data anymore. We no longer take the MAP, so that is not something we look at. Unit assessment averages, so we look at that piece of it, that classroom performance with things they've been taught. We look at GMAS scores for grades 4 and 5. We utilize Write Score data for grades 3 through 5. And when needed, we use writing DPA data for K through 5. And again, that's just some of the data. It's not all that we look at, but that's what we start analyzing in the dashboard. So again, like we said, all students are screened twice annually. We screen students around the 18-week point in the school year, so in December-ish, and that's going to impact student placement for the second semester. We also then screen around the 36-week point in the school year in May, and that will impact placement for the following fall. And it's really important to note that there is not a review in the fall for the beginning of the year placement changes for students returning to Fulton County. That happens a lot. Parents think that based on the beginning of the year iReady, we're going to move students, and that is not what we do if you are returning to Fulton County schools. So just understand that that May screening impacts the fall placement. Parent notification, if your child qualifies for a placement change, you will be notified in early January for changes to the second semester and late May for changes for the following school year, and a letter will be sent home with your child. We also notify all parents of completion of the screening process in the Dolvin Diary in early January and in late May to notify families that our review has been completed and we have looked at all the students. So that is our overview of continuous achievement, what it is, and how students qualify for it. Now we're going to move into talented and gifted programming. And as you can remember, this is governed by the state of Georgia through the Advanced Studies Department in Fulton County, a totally separate entity from continuous achievement. So these are our 3 talented and gifted teachers, Ms. Hanks, Ms. Evans, and Ms. Huber, and they are the dream team. They're absolutely fabulous. We love having them at Dolvin. So what exactly is TAG? The TAG program provides gifted services to students through all-day pullout, 1 day per week, and specially designed instruction to meet the needs of gifted learners. So whereas continuous achievement happens every day for the child, TAG is a 1 day a week pullout program. Okay, so TAG is comprised of units of challenge that are linked to grade level science or social studies standards, and they focus on the TAG standards. So the TAG standards are advanced communication skills, advanced research skills, creating thinking and creative problem solving skills, and higher order thinking skills. So when a child goes to TAG for the day, they are not working on their curriculum that they work on the other 4 days of the week. They are looking at the grade level science and social studies, but it's enhanced in a TAG way. And TAG does report progress, and reports are sent home at the end of each TAG unit, telling you how your child did in that unit. It is not something that you see on the report child. So TAG does have a screening process twice annually. In the fall, students need one of the following criteria to meet the screening criteria for TAG. They need to be the 90th percentile or greater on previous spring or current fall iReady diagnostic assessments in either reading or math, or they need to score in the distinguished level, level 4, on the spring GMAS in reading or math. So they need one of those 2 things, and then they need supporting data along with that. So when a student meets the criteria above, they must have 1 or more pieces of current supporting data to qualify for TAG testing. And again, this does not put the child into TAG. This is what qualifies them to be tested for possible placement in TAG. So this is just screening. In the spring, we have 2 different things that we look at here. We do the 90th percentile or greater in iReady on the winter diagnostic in either reading or math. And then we use what's called the characteristics instrument for screening success. And that is something where we look at 10 areas of giftedness. And if a child demonstrates superior abilities, and again, that's not just slightly ahead of their peers, we're talking superior abilities compared to the same age peers, in 5 of the 10 areas, that would be screening criteria. And every teacher who works with the child, we quote unquote kisses them, but in a very appropriate way. They look at the KISS screener and they mark if they see superior abilities in any of the 10 areas. So then with all those teachers looking at each child, if they get 5 of the 10 areas kissed, then that's one of the criteria for screening for testing. And again, just like in the fall, if they have one of those 2 things, then they need supporting data also to qualify for gifted testing. And when they have all that, then letters are sent home for parents for gifted testing. And kids could be tested in any of the following 4 areas. They could be tested in mental ability, achievement, creativity, or motivation. And again, not all students will be tested in all 4 areas during each testing cycle, because if they were tested, for instance, in motivation in the previous testing cycle, their scores are still considered current and we don't give it again. So that's how the testing works. The eligibility timeline. So when you look at the timeline for notification, all students are screened and then parent notification takes place that your child qualifies for testing. If your child qualifies for testing, you'll get a consent to test electronic form through Infinite Campus. The fall testing, the form populates in September, and I believe it already has populated into Infinite Campus. And for the spring testing, the form populates at the end of January. And then after that, after we get the parent notification and you consent to have your child tested for TAG, then the testing cycle begins. And that runs September through November in the fall, and it runs January through March in the spring. And so it takes a while to all the kids that we're testing to figure out in those 4 areas, which areas they need to be tested in and keep moving them in those testing cycles. So that's why it does take such a long time to do it, because we have to look carefully at what students need, which assessments, and each grade level. So then parents are notified of results via US mail. So students tested in the fall cycle, results will arrive in mid-December in your mail. And students tested in the spring cycle, your results will come in late April. Then after that, after all of that, services begin. If they were tested in the fall, they qualify, they begin TAG services second semester. If students were tested in the spring and they qualify, they will begin TAG services in the fall of the following school year. A sampling of different TAG strategies. This is just, and it's not comprehensive, but these are just a lot of the frequently used TAG strategies out there. We get parents asking a lot. So this might be something that you want to take a little picture of or we'll have a recording of this too. So you can go back to the recording, pause and look at it if you'd like. But these are just some of the strategies. And we understand that a lot of these strategies are designed for like very advanced levels, but you have to understand our TAG teachers take these strategies and they make them applicable for an elementary age child. They provided an appropriate challenge with these strategies. So just some of the things that they get to do and work within TAG. So that kind of sums up TAG, what it is, how students qualify, what the timeline looks like, and some of the strategies used. Another big question we get from parents is, what is iReady? How does it work? How do we use it? So I'm going to give you just a high-level overview here of iReady, how it's used, and when it's used in our schools. Okay? So iReady is a digital platform designed to connect rich assessment data to personalized digital learning and powerful classroom instruction. It provides personalized instruction for each child with their own individual personalized learning pathway based on their diagnostics results. So that's something that's really great about iReady. It would be impossible for teachers daily to have individualized lesson plans for each child, but iReady can do that. So iReady takes the diagnostic, and if there are skill gaps, it's going to personalize instruction for the children to fill those gaps. And then if they find that the child doesn't have gaps and they're flourishing, then the iReady personalized instruction path is going to provide challenges enrichment for students who are already on or above grade level. So it's really fantastic in that it's designed for kids, personalized and in an individual way. Okay, this is where we get a lot of questions and stress, and kids looking at it. Students take the iReady diagnostic, and you see the little graphic here. The diagnostic is an adaptive assessment, and so it is not the same diagnostic for everybody on the grade level. No two kids have the same diagnostic because it adapts as the kids answer questions correctly or answer them wrong. So you can see on that little diagram there, it shows that maybe they're going to start one grade below level with some questions. And the kids master those, and they're going to jump up to grade level questions. The kiddos master those, they're going to jump even higher. If a child gets one wrong, then they're going to go back down. And when they get it right, they're going to go back up. And they keep going up and down until it figures out exactly where that child's placement is. And so what we share with students and we share with parents is kids will get 50% of the questions wrong on the iReady diagnostic. And that is very, very, very hard for kids. I mean, we know our kids, they don't want to get it wrong and they don't want to have that wrong, but that is what it is designed to do. So we tell them when you hit that point that you don't know, it's okay, because you will get half the questions on this assessment wrong. And so that is something, if you could encourage your children in that way too and help them understand, you're going to get half of them right, you're going to get half of them wrong, and there's no way around that because it is finding your personalized level. And in order to do that, that's how it works. And then, like we said before, based on that diagnostic where it finds their level, it's going to go ahead and provide that personalized instruction. It might be, for instance, in math, that a child excels in the domain of geometry, but maybe they're a little bit behind in algebra and algebraic thinking. So it's going to give them some personalized lessons in algebra and algebraic thinking to get them up to grade level and get them up to par. And then once they are, they might take another domain and maybe one that they're flourishing with and enrich it. And so it's going to build all the domains up to grade level and then provide enrichment for students. So it really is very, very cool and very unique in that regard. And that's why we want children to do their best on their diagnostic. It's not for a grade, but it does impact their personalized instruction. How often should we do iReady? Parents ask this a lot, and this is really, 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 really important. iReady recommends that students complete 30 to 49 minutes per subject, so reading and math, a week on their personalized instruction pad. It is not recommended that a student complete more than 60 minutes a week per subject. Please hear me when I say that. We have students who they come to school and say, my parents made me do iReady every night for an hour. That is not going to help your student. iReady, Curriculum Associates, the parent company of iReady, has done extensive data. And they have found that that sweet spot for the maximum growth and gain for a child is that 30 to 49 minutes a week. And they found that if a child completes more than 60 minutes a week in a subject, it doesn't have any added benefit, and it perhaps could hinder them even. So it really is important not to make your child exceed that. We don't encourage them to exceed that in school either. And one thing that we have discovered through our years and our time with Curriculum Associates that perhaps more important than the time and the minutes spent is the quality of that time spent. In fact, we've kind of shifted our language with our students where we don't focus so much on the minutes, but we understand that most iReady personalized instruction lessons are roughly should take a child about 20 minutes. And some of them will take, they say the average would be 12 minutes. Some of them say the average would be 30 minutes, but roughly we find them to be about 20 minutes. So instead of focusing on 30 to 49 minutes a week, we ask children to pass 2 lessons a week. So if they're putting in the time and they're working hard and passing those 2 lessons a week, they will likely have hit that 30 to 49-minute band anyway. And so that's why we've really shifted our focus on lesson passed versus time on the platform, because we found too, we've got some kiddos who don't love it, and I understand that, but they would be on the platform and then have another tab open on their computer so that they quote unquote have the minutes, and every once in a while jump back to it. So this way we really focus on the learning and not the minutes. But again, parents, it's awesome to have your child work on this at home. But once you've exceeded that 60 minutes per subject, it really is not beneficial anymore. It's more beneficial for them to go outside and play. So keep that in mind when you're talking through iReady with your child. Diagnostic frequency. The diagnostic is taken 3 times a year. We take it at the beginning of the year in August to get that baseline preliminary. We take it in the middle of the year, roughly late November, early December, kind of right when we get back from that Thanksgiving week off. We take it right in there. And the reason that Fulton County has decided to do that is there's a number of reasons. First of all, it helps with guidance for continuous achievement. But also we find that after the winter break, coming back and taking iReady, kind of they're in a slump sometimes. So we get better data, more accurate data while they're still in that, high quality learning mode. And then at the end of the year, we take it sometime between April and May. And that really does depend on grade levels for the timing of it, because we definitely don't want our kids taking GMAS to be burnt out with assessments. So we shift that according to county policies there. So it's 3 times a year that we take it. So that really is a high-level overview of continuous achievement, of TAG, and of iReady. But again, I'd love to take any questions you have right now, or if there are questions in the chat, we can ask those. If you don't feel like you want your question, it's more of a personalized question and you want to contact me, my email is halron@fultonschools.org, and it's just 2 men's names, Hal and Ron @fultonschools.org, nice and easy. So please email me anytime. I'm happy to, email you and answer your questions. I'm happy to visit with you on the phone. I'm happy to kind of talk you through it, because this is a lot of information. And if I don't have the answers for you, I am happy to find out. But are there any questions right now that anybody has that they want to? If you can throw it in the chat, please feel free.
I was about to ask, hi, this is Maddie, Ms. Helron. Thank you so much for all the information here. This is super valuable. I just have a quick question. I may have missed, but is there a way for us to know if the kid is in advanced math, or is that did not begin yet, or I don't know?
Yeah, so if your child qualifies for advanced or accelerated placement, you will get a letter home from me. Another way to check is in Infinite Campus. If they are in advanced, the class, it will say advanced language arts or advanced mathematics. And if they are in accelerated, say my child is a 2nd grader, but they're in accelerated ELA, it'll say 3 ELA or ELA 3. So that shows me 3rd grade. Or if my 2nd grader is in accelerated math, it'll say math 3 or 3 math in Infinite Campus. So that's another way to check if you didn't get the letter or the letter got lost somewhere along the way. And if it doesn't have advanced or the next grade level up, then they're in the on-level version.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, good question. Any other questions?
Hi there. I have one question. Can you hear me?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Hi. Yeah. My name is Sweetie Shaw. Thank you for the information.
Yeah.
This is not related to what you presented, but what is the enrichment program that Ms. Huber emailed about? What is that?
We have a lot of kiddos who have high potential, but they just have not qualified for TAG yet. And so what we want to do is we want to work with those kiddos who have high potential or who have been screened for TAG before and come very close to qualifying, and just see if we can't provide them some more tools in their toolbox to get to that.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple questions in the chat I'm going to address. Do the programs run together? Meaning, if my child qualifies for continuous achievement, will he also qualify for TAG? Great question. No, they are 2 totally separate programs that don't bear any weight on each other. So a child could qualify for TAG and be in on-level courses, or a child could be in accelerated courses and not qualify for TAG. So they're independent of each other. That's a great question. We get that a lot. Another question, does iReady include science materials, or should students use their science textbook provided by the school? Unfortunately, iReady does not have a science component. That said, we actually have a new science resource this year, and it's HMH Science, which is fantastic. And through ClassLink, your child not only has access to the workbook and the textbook, but a plethora of other resources that you could look at and explore with your child at home. So HMH has a really robust online platform that you can look at with your child. So, and if you're not sure how to use that or look at that, you can shoot me an email and I can guide you through it. We also have done parent copies on some of the things that we have available through ClassLink for the children at home. So that's there too. But I'd be happy to show you how to do it if your child's not sure. Getting lots of good questions in the chat. Tag and continuous achievement, mutually exclusive. Can they be in two programs simultaneously? So I kind of addressed that before. They are mutually exclusive. They don't go together, but they can be in both. It's just they qualified independently for both, or they might be in one or they might be in the other. So, yeah. Is there any option for retesting of the lesson in iReady? Great question. When a child is doing their personalized instruction pack and they don't pass a lesson, iReady is really cool, and I could go for hours on a lot of the great things it does and the resources it has for our teachers too. It's not just a computer program; it's a computer program that our teachers have full control in too, which is fantastic. But if they don't pass the lesson, then iReady has another lesson for that standard or that concept or whatever. It has another lesson prepared that teaches it in a little bit different way. So then the child, when they don't pass that first lesson, they get the second lesson. And then if they don't pass the second lesson, it depends on what the lesson is. There is a third possible lesson for some of them, or they'll bring it in a different way. But it will also notify the teacher that, hey, we've tried two different ways on the computer to get through to this, to get this information to the child, and it's just not seeming to work. And then the teacher takes that information and they then can work with the child individually, because we understand no computer program can replace our teachers. They are one of a kind and not replaceable. And so that's where iReady says, hey, we've tried it two ways. It's not worked. Teacher, we need you to jump in here. And then if that third lesson doesn't get passed, it will actually shut off that domain for the child, because iReady will say, hey, we are not there for this child yet. And so it'll say, we're not being effective, so we're going to shut down this domain, and iReady will move to a different domain for the child and have the teacher work with that child on that domain. So it's really fascinating how it does it. So that is the very long answer to yes, iReady will retest the lesson and even get the teacher involved when needed. I have another question in the chat here for grade K. Does the assessment that was given before school started factor into any of this? No, that was just, we just want to see what you got, what you know, and just kind of giving us a jumping off point. That kindergarten screening does not factor into anything. So that is a great question too. So that is just purely information for teachers to have. Great questions. I love it. I feel like this is by far for this parent copy the best questions we've had.
Hi, I had a question.
Yeah.
Thanks for the great presentation. It was very informative. I was just curious that there was one screening which said that you will be they'll be screened for motivation. And I was just curious, what does that entail? Like, how do we screen for motivation?
The teachers have a form that they fill out that asks them a ton of questions, kind of like forms you get at the doctor or forms you get other places. It just asks them a lot of questions, and then it has a way that it gets scored to kind of create a motivation index for that child.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Stein, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe at least 2 teachers have to fill it out. So it's not, I'm 90% sure that's right.
And it's essentially it's a survey.
Yes. But again, like, it's not based on just one teacher's opinion. And typically also, so you know what our TAG teachers try to do, they look at your child's homeroom teacher, but like if your child has just a high interest in music, they're going to ask Mr. Fincher to fill out the other one, because they want to get the best information on your child possible. And they want to see how motivated they are when it's something that they're very interested in. So our TAG teachers do an awesome job of trying to find the right combination of teachers for that motivation scale. So it says, my question is, if a kid is getting like more than passing mark, like 85%, but he wants to attempt the lesson again to get better marks, is there a chance to do that? The teacher would have to manually assign that lesson again in iReady. So if they passed the lesson in iReady, but they want to take it again to try to do better, the child would have to talk to the teacher about finding that lesson and reassigning it to them. And then in that place, it would not go in as their personalized instruction path, but a teacher assigned lesson. But again, like an 85% on that lesson doesn't impact their grade in any way. Good questions. I think maybe we are at the end. Mr. Stein, do you have any final thoughts?
Awesome. No, thank you so much, Ms. Howron. And like we said, if you think of anything later, don't hesitate to reach out. We can help you out.